There's nothing wrong with also showing how big the actual arc is, though.
Hey, you started.
Oh, nice. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grit and Ready podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew, alongside my two co-hosts, Nathan.
I'm Nathan.
And Josh.
And I'm Josh.
And today, we are very excited to bring you a very, very awesome episode. We will be covering...
It's a special Thanksgiving episode.
Listen, this episode is so good, we did it twice. We recorded it, edited it, and then we're like, screw it, we'll do it again because we just felt like there's a lot of missing information that we did the first time that we want to freaking get into and get deeper with it.
We tried this once, but then we realized there's so much information that we just glossed over and didn't touch on. I figured that while we're going along this journey of telling the story of the Bible, why skip over some of the most interesting things and different theories that we, could possibly talk about? Last week or last episode, we talked about
the founding of America.
The founding fathers, and the murder of brothers.
The aftermath of the murder,
the cries
of
of parents.
The children of Adam and Seth's line, Seth replacing both Cain and Abel as the main line from Adam, and the continuation of the genealogies of Cain. Kind of what we want to cover is we want to kind of continue on that path, really discover and talk about what the world was like entering into this major, super well-known story of Noah and his ark and the flood. Even if you don't read the Bible, even if you don't...
Everybody's
go to
heard
church,
of the story.
Dude, who built the ark?
The Arky-Ark.
Noah. Noah built the ark.
I mean, I think people know the story of Noah and the ark more than they know the story of Jesus.
I mean, probably, actually. That, and I think the other only one that could compare is probably David and Goliath, or some of like the biggest stories known.
David and Goliath. Actually, a lot of people don't even know the story of really Adam and Eve. Noah, I think, is one of the bigger ones, yes.
Yeah, because not just
more well known.
I mean, in the world, there's so many different civilizations that have a flood mythos or some type of like the whole world was completely destroyed by a giant flood, and it's engraved into all these different types of societies. And but before we get too much into that, this week we want to focus on the antediluvian period.
Hey, can we?
Nathan hates when I use that word.
Antediluvian?
Antediluvian is the word used for to.
Should we do that
to talk about what the pre-flood world?
Stop using that word. That's a trigger word for Nathan.
So should we
generally get antediluvian, antediluvian?
Should we?
I'm sorry,
guys.
I'm sorry.
I want to talk about something even more important.
Podcast bullying.
Should we shout out the email guy again, or no?
Are you talking about Sammy?
No. S. Adam. You can't say his name.
S. Adam.
But now people know that his first name is Sam.
No, they don't. It could be S. Could stand for anything. You say it stands for it can stand for Sam.
I like Shmuel.
I mean
Shmuel.
Yeah.
All right, read his thing. I don't have access to that.
Well, I want to shout him out. He sent us another email.
Says, blessed be you guys once more.
Hallelujah.
And blessed be you with many blessings.
Josh, specifically, he shouted you out, Josh.
Wow, I got blessed?
With many blessings, Josh. The fall of man, and this is covering another episode, previous episode we did. The fall of man is very, very deep, and I feel like can be talked about forever. One interesting thing I thought about was after man ate the fruit, how did humankind age before our lifespan was shortened? Like, were there babies, or were they babies for a long time, or stayed middle-aged for a long time? I thought about this, and the more I do, the more confused I get.
The more confused he gets.
Oh, waiting for that merch, though. I'm your guys' biggest fan, S. Adam. Thank you for the email. Thank you so much. We love you. I got a couple calls and a couple texts for some personal friends and family members as well.
Same here.
What we'll probably end up doing is we'll collect a lot of these questions that come up, and we might do some side Q&A.
Can we answer the question? What is wrong with
here's the thing.
Why are you talking about how popular you are?
If you don't email us, you won't be able to get a shout out. So if you want, we need a paper trail. All right, so we need a paper trail.
Okay, so what's the answer to the question? Do we age?
No, Adam and Eve didn't start off as... I think Josh touched on this in the episode. It wasn't like Adam was there, made as a middle-aged man, and then Eve was born as a baby that grew up, or they grew up as babies together.
I think
man was fully formed in God's image. He was immediately born into whatever the perfect, I would assume, the perfect age or whatever the likeliness.
Without belly buttons.
Without belly buttons. I think that... Because you have to think about aging and death didn't exist in the garden until they sinned and it became a part of, or tainted them physically. So they would have been whatever is the perfect form of them. And then once they sin entered, then they would have started aging from that point. And then reproduction, we know from the Bible, didn't happen until after they got out of the Garden of Eden. So
Okay.
It's safe to assume Cain was the first baby with a belly button coming out.
I agree. I agree that Adam, when God made Adam, he was a human, normal. I think that he made him at the prime, what God thought that people should be and should look like at their prime. I think that's where he probably was.
Yeah, 28.
Physically, he was probably he was probably at 30, somewhere around there.
Physical prime.
I'm in the physical prime of my life right now, and
That's your physical prime. Yikes!
Even after this is wild. Even after for some reason, I went on a whole the 90 minutes to heaven and 90 minutes to hell, or 21 minutes to heaven, something like that. I was listening to that guy's podcast, and
there's a
got
podcast
his name.
about a guy that went to heaven and hell.
Two separate things. No, because one guy went to heaven. He died in some type of car crash. Went to heaven. He was a believer, and the other guy went to hell. And both of them they both said that when they were there, they were, even the people that came and visited them and stuff like that, the guys in heaven, they were all like how they should look. So people that he knew that were missing teeth, they had their teeth. People that like, everybody was
So
completely
you're saying
healthy.
people that were born with
at their
deformities
prime.
physically, whenever they're, he says, and when he sees them, they saw them like in whatever they're supposed to look like, if anything?
Yeah, however God intended that person to look like at their prime.
Well, we know the Bible tells us that we'll have new glorified bodies.
How many people do you know with missing teeth? To
Actually,
say that.
my
Everybody,
grandfather-
I know.
my grandpa has missing
37
teeth.
people I know with only 2 teeth all had teeth. That's weird.
The majority of old people don't have a lot of their teeth. So
Can you really? I mean, the dental technology today.
Guys, we're not going.
actually, we could print 3D
Oh my gosh.
teeth. Yeah, that is a thing.
So yes, Samuel. In short, we believe that in the garden they were fully formed humans in a perfect form of age. They were adults, to be clear.
Yeah.
And then babies didn't appear until reproduction appeared, with Cain being the first one born from Eve, the mother of all living things. So,
And Samuel, on that merch, we're gonna have a bunch of refrigerator magnets.
Yeah. Yep.
stay tuned for that.
Magnets sold separate.
Refrigerator magnets,
It's just non-magnetized refrigerator accessories.
pen holders, not the pens, just the pen holder.
Yeah, we're gonna have dry erasers that
Steering
nobody uses.
steering wheel glitters. Actually, don't do that. Don't
glitter.
do that.
Shout out to-
Apparently, I heard that if you bedazzle your steering wheel and you get in a car accident, when their airbag deploys from the steering wheel, all those little bedazzles
It's
shoot
little
into your head.
glass.
It'll
It's
kill
literally
you.
Terrible for you.
It will kill you. So don't
think,
bedazzle.
I think we should make mouse pads. Would be the best.
Mouse pads.
Shout out to
No, mouse pads is great.
No, I
let-
just want the right clicker of the mouse.
Let's
Okay,
get
let's get into
into
it.
the wickedness and judgment of man.
So yes, we're gonna go into it again.
This is the Sandiluvian period.
the antediluvian period. We pick back up after the world that we know, after the lines of both Seth and the lines of Cain. Cain, remember that
The lions?
the lion, he ain't lying. Remember that Cain's offspring, they started founding cities and societies, and then you have the sons of Seth and the sons of Adam calling upon the name of the Lord. And we're going to pick back up with chapter 6. We're going to read the first 8 verses. Nathan, if you could take us away.
First 8 verses of chapter 6.
Genesis chapter 6.
Now it came to pass, when man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent and thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Oof, yeah.
Well, Plosh, that's probably one of the craziest sections and mysterious sections of the Bible right there.
Yeah, some of the most heavily debated things pop up right there. It's very interesting. I mean, everything that happens up in the Bible up until this point in the story is very grand and epic. You have, the creation of everything.
Yeah.
You have the Garden of Eden. You have snakes talking. You have,
the creation of everything kind of makes sense, though, because we know that everything was created, but
exactly.
the very thing of what was on Earth and what was happening on Earth is honestly kind of more mysterious than the actual creation.
Yeah,
in
but
my
now
opinion.
you have all of a sudden drop. You have, sons of God laying with daughters of men, or angels. A lot of people believe are laying with men. You have giants thrown in there, men who are of old, men of renown. You have God upset with the creation he made already. It says that everybody was just wicked, and wickedness was just every intent of their heart was wicked, which is, we like to think that everybody has a little bit of good in them, it's like everybody's like people, do bad things, but most people are good, right? Well, what the Bible tells us that during this time that everybody was just straight up evil. Like every attention that they did from the bottom of their heart was just towards wickedness. And I want to look at a couple things.
I have a question
about this world.
I have a question for both of you before you begin with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It probably you were going to go into it anyway, but I feel like I'm the question asker here.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The sons of God saw the daughters of men. Who were the daughters? I'm just playing. Who were the sons of God? Who were the sons of God?
So, Josh, if you want to take, I think that you looked into this a little bit more. There's a couple different ideas of what that could possibly mean.
Sons of God could be, the children of Adam and Eve. You got Seth and Cain. So those could be the sons of God. It could be kings of that time. Just very, very important people of the earth.
Like men of renown?
Yeah.
The kings?
Or it could be angels.
Yeah.
Angels.
The most widely kind of discussed and based on other things written, a lot of people believe that sons of God, based on other references in the Bible, were referring to angels. We have angels, and the reason we believe there's some type of supernatural essence behind it is because of what comes afterwards. You have the sons of God taking women and sleeping with them, take them as wives and their offspring. It says, let's see
Job
here,
1:6.
There were giants on the earth.
and afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they bore children to them. Those were mighty men who were of old and men of renown. There's a distinction there.
Well, the reason why I kind of go and lean more towards the angel route is, Job 1:6, it says, Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them.
Yeah, so you're talking about heavenly hosts coming in the assembly of God.
By
So
the way,
if-
Job
yeah.
is a future book of the Bible.
Wow.
For those who don't know, Job is another story we'll get into very soon.
But it's in the same time period.
Yeah, so that's one thing.
It might be 2 episodes away, actually.
wink, wink.
And
so
I kind of want to read the rest of that from
Yeah,
Job.
read it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, read Job.
All right. So I'm going to read it all over again. So
Why don't you-
now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, From where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth and walking back and forth on it. And the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil? All right, I'm done there.
No, you're just gonna keep reading.
I'm sorry. It was just.
So that was
No, there is
that's a preview of 2 episodes from
That is important because now we have the context that you see that Satan is going back and forth.
Yeah, he's on Earth at this time, and there's an assembly of hosts called the sons of God. It's a good reference to kind of show where we get this idea.
The idea that these sons of gods are angels,
Well, there's also, if you look
sons
at
of God, not gods.
pseudepigraphal texts or apocryphal texts like the Book of Enoch,
what?
books that are not part are Holy Spirit inspired scripture that's not canonized scripture, but are used as historical religious text.
There's books that aren't.
Yeah,
part
there's
of the Bible.
they're the books that we have collected as part of the canonized scripture that we use. At least not the Ethiopian Bible, but most of the world and the Catholic.
What is that called?
What?
Nothing. Just keep going.
You talking about the Bible or
The other book.
He's talking about the Book of
the
Enoch.
apocryphal text?
Apocryphal.
Apocryphitic.
Apocryphitic.
Okay,
Or
you're
pseudepigraphal
scaring him with
or
all the big
apocryphal.
words.
Okay, sorry. The Book of Enoch is a book, again, not canonical scripture, but it is widely read, and at the earlier days of the Bible, and people that would have studied would have known the book very well. And it covers kind of this character that we passed last week as well. I mean, if you guys remember, Enoch was someone who walked with God.
The guy that got taken up to heaven?
And yeah, that didn't experience death. Now, this
Yeah.
is kind of like a zoomed in version written about kind of what was going on in the world this time, a more in-depth look at this specific verse. Again, I want to preface before going into it that
Preface.
I want to preface that the Book of Enoch is not part of the Bible, and you shouldn't read it over the Bible. I think that if you want to know the truth, you want to start with the Bible and gain a healthy understanding of
Gain
the
a
Word of
healthy
God.
foundation before
Yeah,
you
before
start
you ever-
building additions onto your house.
I don't ever want to say that it's bad to read these type of things, but it could not be helpful and it could distract from what the purpose is. Remember that the story of the Bible is written towards us as God's children to understand what we need to understand God and His person. These
Yeah.
other things, while interesting and what we're going to talk about here, is not part of the Bible, but I want to talk about so we can kind of gain a view of what the world kind of looked like and what people thought the world looked like. A lot of the people that wrote the Bible or in the Bible, some people say that the Book of Enoch is also referenced in the Bible itself to different things. These type of books, while they can have parts that are in alignment with Scripture, as a whole, they were decided to keep out because they were agreed that they were not divinely inspired. So I just want to make that clear.
And I want to point out, just before y'all start really diving into the weeds, just on how people were, this time period, people were very, very well aware of a supernatural presence.
Yeah, we're talking about just a few generations from
They
creation.
knew about God. I mean, they pretty much, some of them probably talked to somebody that knew Adam directly, right? So they knew about God. They kind of knew about Satan. They knew about creation. They knew about all this stuff. And they were so wicked that they chose to be evil.
That's the that's
Like
the
they literally, it's not like today where it's like it's tough because we don't have, a mountain or something where you see God's praise, or you don't see angels running around. They literally saw supernatural things, and they yet chose wickedness and to be evil.
Yeah, I mean, it's different whenever it's different whenever you're like you don't know, and so you do kind of whatever you see as quote unquote right in your own eyes, versus people that know and choose to be bad. That's like another level of wickedness. And it's like I could see God even being even more hurt. Like you have a choice to know I'm here, and I'm giving you, and you still choose to do whatever is self-gratifying and wicked.
Well, let's get more into Josh, the giants and stuff.
So
Okay,
yeah,
well,
when we talk-
first we're still with the sons of God. So we got the angels. They, other points of the Bible reference back to it, basically looking like as if it is angels. And then we also have the other theory where It could be the sons of Cain, which is most likely Seth, right? And some have argued that the sons of God were the sons of Seth, who cohabited with the daughters of Cain. Others suggest that they were perhaps human kings wanting to build harems, like giant cities and stuff like that. But the passage puts strong emphasis on the angelic versus human contrast.
Yeah, and I believe that, I mean, the children that were from this race, this hybrid race of human angelic, they were also probably the ones that were in charge and ones that were ruling these nations. Like,
oh yeah, we're going to get into giants,
Yeah.
and you're going to see how freaking big these giants were, because
3,000 ells. How big is that?
What?
basically
That's
they
what the Book of Enoch says. How big the giants were.
300 cubits or something like that. So if you got to take 300 cubits times 18 inches, which is 1 cubit is about 18 inches, somewhere around there. You're talking about anywhere between, 300 to 450 feet tall.
Yeah. So
you
to
got
kinda
them
understand. Yeah.
giant.
To kind of understand a little bit more of a background. I know we touched upon the Book of Enoch. Just to give a quick, I'm just going to kind of go into a little bit. The Book of Enoch talks. The first Book of Enoch, because there's 3 of them, talks about these angelic beings known as the Watchers, and it talks about, in the 6th chapter, it's 200 Watchers descended upon Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon's a kind of a mount that's important to the Bible, and will pull up into other places, and they kind of make a pact together, because the lead one of them, named Shemyaza, he didn't want to be solely responsible for this knowing sin that they were going to commit, of taking women and kind of laying with them and just disobeying God and kind of living to their own vices. And it says that it pretty much goes more into depth about how they pretty much came together and they cursed, they made a pact, they cursed that mountainside, and they decided to do this thing all together on that mountain. And then it talks more in depth that their children were giants, known as Nephilim.
Yes.
And that they pretty much were devourers of everything. They when the sons of men, it says, could no longer sustain them, that they turned upon the children of men and ate their flesh and drank their blood.
Yeah.
And just many atrocities.
So
and you
that's
see, there's like a tainting and a corruption of the seed, quote unquote, or the line, or the genetics of humanity, and that's starting to spread throughout the world as well. And they teach all sorts of things like witchcraft and warfare, makeup, mystical healings. That the first 8 or 10, 12 chapters of the Book of Enoch will talk about all these types of things.
Each one of those angels had a specific task that they taught.
Yeah, like Azazel teaches warfare. I'm not going to go into all the names of these angels.
That it's basically showing that we were taught these certain things.
Yeah, there's these like hidden knowledges that weren't supposed, that didn't help humanity. It kind of led more like the darkening the eyes and makeup,
which is also interesting. It's like, even talking about makeup, it's like, what were they doing with makeup? Why do they have makeup in heaven? Is that what they were using?
Well, yeah, like, where did they learn these type of things? But
Exactly.
they knew all sorts of things like that. They would teach men. It kind of led to man's furthering corruption. So you don't just have this hybrid race of people that are ruling everything, but they're also eliminating mankind. Remember back when it said, and then men began to call upon the name of the Lord, like almost like a help. And then you have the Book of Enoch turning into this portion where, starting with chapter 10, where the archangels get involved, and Michael, Gabriel, and a few other Sariel, they all go to God's throne. They say, don't you see what's going on? And God actually sends the angel, or the archangel Sariel, to Noah to warn him to hide himself, because he tells him, I'm going to create a flood. So it kind of shows this story we're going to get to, and says to preserve his seed. That's very, very interesting, the way they make it. And then they also send the archangels to imprison and destroy the giants. Now we kind of get into it. So one other thing that's really interesting about the Book of Enoch, besides these other things that are alluded, that are touched upon, is you kind of have the explanation of the origin of evil spirits or demonic entities on the earth.
Yes.
Because you have, based upon the Bible, the sons of God laying with the daughters of men, they have an origin of flesh, but they also have a divine origin. So they have a spirit and a body. And when that body dies, it says in the Book of Enoch, at least, that their spirits leave, but because they're also flesh, that they're contained to the earth. They don't have a place in heaven, but there isn't a hell yet. There isn't a lake of fire yet where there's thrown yet. There's imprisonment for some of the archangels, But these spirits, and like you read in Job, wander back and forth on the earth. And there's many points throughout the Bible that talk about these evil spirits kind of collecting. And, there's a famous passage that says whenever
I wouldn't
they
say
leave,
necessarily spirits yet. I wouldn't say spirits yet.
Not yet. I'm saying eventually that this is kind of the origin.
Yeah.
Like the giants that pass away, from physically, their spirits will be separated and they're on the earth. That's kind of another thing. It talks upon that origin and how the earth is their dwelling. And
Because I think we got to stop. We got to stop with the concept that angels and God and all these, they're only spirits. Because why do you think that there's the Trinity? I mean, think about it: God, Jesus, and the Holy
God
Spirit.
is spirit.
Right?
Yeah, these are all spirit. That actually, if you actually read the passage in the book of, again, I'm not using the Book of Enoch as a basis for absolute truth, but if you take this idea, it delves into that idea as well, that because they were their fathers were spirit, but the women were flesh. That's kind of where the mending, the hybrid happens, and that's why they're eternal, because their parent is spirit. And they took on the physical presence.
That's not. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because
Okay.
if Mary was the first virgin, right, to give birth, then that would be a lie, because then there's all these other virgins before, because all these spirits came in, right? You calling the Bible a liar?
What? No, Josh. I'm talking about the angels. They came down in physical presence and
Yes,
started making,
that's what I thought you were saying, that they were.
But their origin is spirit, and they have a spirit, and so they're just like you have a body, a soul, and a spirit.
Yeah.
Their children would have had a spirit and a body, and that spirit, when we die, it goes to heaven.
But I'm not talking about them.
Again, Andrew, this theory you're talking about is in the Book of Enoch, though. It's not in the Bible, right?
It's in the Bible right here. We're reading it. The sons of God came and had.
No, not that. I'm saying the theory of where, I guess you're saying, where
the origins of
demonic spirits come from.
Yes,
that's
but
a theory that's in the Book of Enoch. So
Yes.
that's not a biblical theory.
So I'm not using it as truth to say the Bible isn't true.
Because Josh is arguing a biblical thing versus the Book of Enoch.
And that's an example of why you should be careful with this type of stuff. It's just one thing to kind of help understand how people view the world.
That's with you saying that they're spirits and they came down from heaven as spirits.
Yeah.
Well, it says the sons of God. All it says is the sons of God lay with the daughters of men.
If you read, I'm not going to read the passages, but it literally specifies why they were spirits is because the angels were spirit. But I'm not going to get into it. It's fine. I'll show you.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
It's chapter 15 of the Book of Enoch. If you want to read for yourself, whenever you want to break it down. But to digress, essentially that is the idea of sons of God laying into the daughters of men. One interesting thing that
giants, fee, fi, fo, fum.
Yeah, the one interesting thing is that giants weren't just before the flood.
You think they were saying fee, fi, fo, thumb?
Well, yeah, they had to get that from somewhere.
Thumb, 3, 5, 4, thumb, or
3, fee, 5, 4, thumb.
Like
I spelled the blood of an Englishman.
I think they didn't know how to count correctly. They're counting down from 5, then they got to the thumb. They started with 3, 5, then 4, then
If
thumb.
only Jack and the Giant Beanstalk
There's
was
no
a real.
1. Or
What if it was a
one
real
is
story?
thumb. I'm sorry, man. Go back to your thing.
You're good.
The Giants lived in
An interesting
heaven,
thing
basically.
about Mount Hermon, though, is just one thing that popped up.
What? Did you mention Mount what?
Yeah, because that's the mountain that the Watchers essentially came down on Earth and the sons of God began to come down, according to the Book of Enoch.
Mount Hermon?
Mount Hermon and
Kerman?
Hermon.
It's it's mentioned in the Bible. Mount Hermon is a biblical place.
Which mountain? Where is it mentioned in the Bible?
Well, when you have in the New Testament, when Jesus and his disciples come to an area called Caesarea Philippi, that's where Jesus has the interaction, the conversation with Peter, where he asks, who do men say that I am? And then, they say that some say you're a prophet.
And then who do you say?
Yeah, who do you say? You're the Son of God. And he said, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not be able to prevail against them. Now, that area of Caesarea Philippi was at the base in a kind of a lightly populated area at the foot of the Mount Hermon, which has 3 large peaks I think it's the northern part of Israel. And it's actually like the border of all, like the promised land. And that area, because of the stories, and it's like known as like a cursed kind of area, or known as the gates of hell. And it's kind of like an allusion towards, again, this is not in the Bible where it says this. It's just some people, if you read and study, it's kind of like he went right after this point in that conversation. It says they go up to a high mountain. Mount Hermon is believed to be is the mountain that Jesus went up with his disciples, and the transfiguration took place. Now, other people believe that it could have been Mount Tabor as well. Those are the two debated mountains where the transfiguration could have happened. Some people don't believe that it was Mount Tabor because at the time, Mount Tabor would have been populated and surrounded with a wall. And it says in the Bible that went up into a secluded area and they were alone. And then Jesus performed the transfiguration where his face shone like the sun and he began to speak to Moses and Elijah. And one interesting thing to think about is like, it's almost like Jesus' biggest flex is like showing that he is victorious over everything. Because if you look at an idea that we haven't touched on, but I want to bring out, this problem that was on the earth before the flood that happened, of the sons of God laying with the daughters of men, wickedness spreading throughout the world. It wasn't just, it was a wickedness in all of mankind's heart, because you see what happened with Cain and their desire, their intent was towards evil, but there was also a tainting of the physical seed of man through which God had a plan to bring about the Son of God to be born into flesh, so that when he dies, his blood will be a sacrifice and a ransom for our sins.
Well, is there like levels to this?
Oh, dude, it goes deep if you really try to go. And I've fallen through some rabbit holes, and it's really difficult. But it's so crazy when you think about it like that, because it's like Jesus standing there where that first started and transfigures and literally shows his glory, showing that he is victorious over everything. And it goes even further than that. You know what's on top of Mount Hermon today?
No.
Say it.
A UN like observatory base. Like it's there's all these conspiracies. I don't know. This is wild to me. It literally blows my mind when I think about stuff like that, because it's like all these ideas with like aliens and secret societies and people that are in charge. When you think about like people behind the doors that rule and control all the things in this world, and it says in the Bible that in the end times that it will be like it was in the days of Noah. The sons of God, when they laid with the daughters of men, they weren't just giants, but they were men of renown, men of old. They were the people that were in charge. They were the people that were controlling the scene, behind the scenes.
Some people think that mountains were giants.
What?
That mountains, like actual mountains, used to be giants because giants were so big that when they died, it created a mountain.
Yeah, I went off there a little bit and kind of lost my mind and tried to compare.
In Ireland, there are. I mean, some people think that some of the mountains are just asleep, and then when the giants will wake up when it's their time, the mountains will come to life.
I don't know about that, just because it's like everything drowned and they were flesh and blood. How does a flesh and blood turn into a stone?
That's what the concept that everything drowned.
Well, I digress. Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy behind it, a lot of interesting rabbit holes you can fall down into.
I think mountains were like rock that piles up over time.
Nobody loses their mind when you feel
in the tale of Gilgamesh.
Herman, where they
in the tale of Gilgamesh,
the angels come down and start sleeping women, teaching them witchcraft and stuff like that.
Listen.
There's also a UN building on top of it. That didn't blow your mind at all? Like, that just kind of...
No, that is wild. But I was going to say,
why would
in the
that
tale
blow?
of Gilgamesh, basically...
First of all, you know
What?
too much.
All right, do you know the story of Gilgamesh?
The Epic of Gilgamesh, yeah, it's one of the oldest stories of all time. It's
The Epic of Gilgamesh?
He was an ancient king who was pretty much bigger, faster, stronger, and just...
Yeah.
And the famous ending where he tries
the
to...
Epic of Gilgamesh.
Him and... what's his friend that he made? That gods made like a being that was a wild man.
Well, basically, they chose
his
Gilgamesh.
war or whatever.
They came to him and they gave him like the designs to make the ark and everything. And
Yeah, the flood narrative also follows into a lot of ancient mythologies all over the world.
Yes,
Different things.
but in that
Gilgamesh is one of them.
tale,
he was on the path towards finding out how to live eternal life.
those
seeking after
beings
ambrosia.
in that tale also you got even the Sumerian tablets that talk about the flood, and they in those stories, those beings on Earth, the evil ones or whatever, they get into their quote unquote rocket ship and they completely evade the flood and go above and wait and then come back down later.
you have all these other megalithic structures, and like you've watched Ancient Aliens, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm not the only crazy one.
I haven't.
There's all
No.
these depictions of like weirdly shaped headed, larger than them. These were like the leaders or the people that come down.
Yeah,
Like,
the
all
big
these-
shape, the big headed people.
This
I know
isn't
those
new. Like, this
elongated
is super
heads.
viral at this point. Everybody knows like Grant Hancock
What
and
are
all
we
these
talking
ideas
about?
Dude, I've lost it. I don't know. We're just talking about
No,
So, suffice
those
to
can't be
say,
fake.
Pretty deep in the weeds now.
Dude, we're talking about the fact that on the Earth, there's a couple things we need to look at that the world was like at that time.
The world was crazy.
People lived much longer. They were like 700 to 900 years long. The face of the Earth was covered with people. We think about just Cain and Abel. There's like two guys, Adam and Eve, and then we skip all the way to Noah. But understand that in this time period, the whole Earth is now populated.
It was
There's
not
a
just
lot
two
going
people,
on.
It was at least 3.
I also
three
believe
people.
that it was one landmass. It was Pangea.
Pangea.
Yeah, baby, Pangea.
It had to have been. It had to have
Why did
been.
you say baby?
Because we have all these other different groups of people all over the earth, and
That's
they're
not
primitive.
why.
They don't even
But-
have a way to build giant ships, giant boats. So how do they get there? It had to have been what? What do you think?
Well, everybody died when the flood happened. Nothing survived. So even if the Earth broke apart,
So
and
what?
separated-
According to the Bible.
According to the
everybody
Bible,
died.
Okay,
back,
so
all the thing I've read,
what? An
there's
ancient
doesn't make
Mayan
sense.
guy got on a log and just went for a joyride and
Or
just
a
ended
land-
up.
An ice bridge from Russia to Alaska somehow formed on a cold winter, and they walked across and ended
Ice
up.
Age, I get
these
it.
things happen.
The Ice Age
People
could have
land
been
in
a thing.
Australia. There's a bunch of islands that lead to Australia.
The Ice Age could have been a thing right after the flood. Everything's frozen because
have been a thing.
theoretically, here's the thing. Here's the
The
thing.
world was cold.
You know how the Earth heats up from the inside. So if it's covered with water, there's no way for Look it up. Heat comes from the Earth. That's how we get heat.
Are you sure it
The
doesn't
Earth-
have?
no, the
Are you
Earth
sure it doesn't
warms
have
up
anything
the
to do
sun.
with? Are you sure it doesn't have anything to do with the closest to the sun?
The sun does hit. The sun does hit, but the way we actually get the heat is from the sun hitting the Earth, coming back up, and then we feel the heat. When you're out on the ocean, it's freaking freezing out there.
The sun's only hot because the earth makes it hot. We are the sun.
What?
We are. I think Andrew's just laughing because we are not scientists.
The Earth warms up. Heat
Okay.
comes from the Earth. Oh God, Josh, we're officially moving on. We've lost ourselves.
Okay, well,
apologize.
I'm just saying that if the Earth is covered with water, it's getting
It's
cold. It's
That's
cold.
Not how that works, but it's all right.
Maybe he's right, dude. I'm gonna look into it. He probably is right. You're just sitting here laughing.
Maybe I'm wrong.
All I know is that with the
Nathan, look it up while we keep going.
people
I'll look it
lived long. The face was covered with a huge population of wickedness. There was a tainted bloodline. That's why God wanted to preserve the seed of Adam. It says Noah was found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and then the next part we'll read that he was perfect in his generation.
Yes.
Or him and his family were like the last ones that were.
Which doesn't say
found
much
righteous.
because his generation was very corrupt.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't mean that he
could
was
have
the
been-
greatest guy ever, but the bar was pretty low for Noah.
He
at the time.
probably was a mediocre. Well, actually, the fact that he just built an ark because God told him to build this
That's. I
thing,
mean,
did
he was obedient.
he was obedient.
Hey, all right, so I just looked up. I mean, there's a lot.
swear, if you tell
there's
me-
a lot of the sun warms the earth up, Josh. Like,
I get that it does, but
Josh,
the majority of our heat comes from the Earth.
Hey, listen, it's cold when we're out in the ocean. AI, the warmth comes from the sun.
I was wrong because I was just on a cruise and it was pretty warm out there.
Oh my God, dude, I can't. I'm not. I really try to prepare myself before these episodes to say like, all right, what is Josh gonna say that? And I never can. Like,
What's it saying?
you are the most.
all right, what's the majority of the Earth's heat come from? Most of the Earth's internal heat is left over from when our planet formed.
Well, what?
The energy of those violent collisions transformed into heat energy.
That's inside the Earth's crust, though.
Yes, but
If
it
you
comes
believe
up.
that it's covered with like magma in the core.
Actually, Josh might have a point.
Have you even opened an article, or is you still on the face of
no,
Google?
I'm reading it, dude. There are three main sources of heat in the deep Earth. One, heat from when the planet formed and accreted, which has not yet been lost. Two, frictional heating caused by denser core material sinking to the center of the planet. And 3, heat from the decay of radioactive elements.
I'm gonna tell you this right now: the surface of the Earth, the majority of the warmth comes from the sun. That's why whenever there are things like a volcanic eruption or an asteroid that puts a lot of ash soot into blocking the sun, and it creates like this little covering, that's when we experience ice ages and things like that have been documented.
No, the main source of Earth's natural heat is the decay of naturally radioactive chemical elements that occur in small amounts in all rocks.
I don't know.
We need the sun. We do need the sun.
That's what I'm saying. We're not scientists here.
No, we're going to continue to debate.
But Josh is correct once again.
Obviously, the Earth heats up the sun, and that's why there is a sun.
Thank you for all of you that have listened up until this point. I understand when you tune out.
I know this is a Bible podcast, by the way.
I keep coming out mildly correct.
It's just ridiculous.
So maybe,
and I do have to apologize because, like, I remember a previous episode. Speaking of back to like the world before the flood and the reason for the flood, you mentioned when you talked about the seed. Now, I'm not going to say that it was fully right that a race of reptilians that lasted from the serpent was the reason that Jesus was murdered, because that's not true. But there was a seed.
Please stop.
From the serpent.
No, all right. Let's go.
The serpent seed could be the fallen age, like they mixed with the daughters of man, and there was like wickedness on the earth that he crushed his head.
Again, this is not in the all this stuff is not really described in the Bible. Let's get back to what the Bible
so the world
say.
saw that there was wickedness, and either way, I want to talk a little bit. Nathan, what do you think it means that the Lord was sorry in his heart? Or the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth.
First of all, I asked the questions, 1. And 2, can God feel regret?
That's kind of what I want to talk about. Because, like, if he knows, why would he even bother making us in the first place?
Well, let me answer that question with this question. What do you think on the matter?
Oh, man, it's a tough question. Obviously, when we look at when it says he was sorry that he had made, he knew what would happen when he began the time, like when he set start to the time and the domino effect of whatever humanity's story was. He knew the eventually coming, but when it is in that moment when he sees it, it still hurts. It's like, I think we talked about this last time.
Because Josh described, like, when you have a child.
When you have a child, yeah.
You know that the child, even if you hear that the child did something wrong, seeing it hurts you even more.
Yeah, or like that your child is going to do something wrong to upset you. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have the child if you want children.
Yeah.
Because of the joy that it brings you when it loves you and the time you spend with it, it makes it, you're willing to overlook that and forgive that, if you will. And I think that when we look at this passage, you see that the Lord was grieved in his heart. It's more of like, it hurts that it turned out such a way, and to see that what he made with a purpose for good turned wicked. Whether it was just humanity because they were just all wicked, or if it was, I don't want to get, more into weeds as much as we already have been with like the sons of God and daughters of man, angels and hybrids. There was wickedness of all sorts. There was even, it says all flesh was corrupted, like in terms of animals. And if,
And I think my point earlier, the biggest wickedness was the fact that they literally could physically see God.
They knew,
not God. But
there wasn't this question of was there a God?
There wasn't even a question, and they chose to disobey and live in wickedness.
Well, they chose wicked. Dude, imagine you're just a regular human being. Probably back then you're a little larger than what we are now. They found bones and stuff like that of by Noah's Ark and stuff like that, where people were probably somewhere around 13, 14, 15 feet tall, big bones and stuff like that, but you're looking around and you're seeing these giants, all right? Theoretically, let's just say that you're seeing maybe 300, 400 foot giants walking around. To you, those are the people you're going to probably listen to. You don't want to get stomped and you don't want to get squandered by those guys, right? So I mean, if I was, I mean, I'm not gonna say that if I was a person back then, I would be like, oh, I'm not following God because there's these giants and stuff like that. But to those people, those giants basically have become gods to them. Those giants, I mean, whatever. There's all types of different beings.
Well, they're bigger. They were more powerful. They were taught, and humanity at that time was also taught all sorts of like things that they weren't supposed to know, and they were just. Even if they weren't taught these things that you don't, everything else is all false, and there wasn't that. It was still, everybody was selfishly after whatever they wanted themselves, and it was just continually wickedness.
Yeah.
And it says all flesh. I mean, I will destroy, verse 7 says, the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I've created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, and birds of the air. For I'm sorry I made them. So it shows us not just humanity, but it's like all things he will wipe away because everything is corrupted. Which makes you think, why? I mean, if it was just humanity, what did the creeping things and the birds have to do with it?
All of
everything.
them should die.
I mean, that's why we got all types of crazy different types of animals and stuff like that. We got mammoths, we got saber-toothed lions, tigers, lions or tigers? Dinosaurs. Let's get into dinosaurs for a second.
Oh, no.
All right, so we got dinosaurs, all right?
Jurassic
dinosaurs.
Park.
What? All right, so dinosaurs. The word dinosaur was created by a guy named Richard Owen in 1841. And the thing that's funny is he comes up with the word, and then a couple years later discovers the first dinosaur fossils.
When?
Well, he came up with the word in 1841.
He created the word dinosaur.
Well, what was the time again?
It was a guy.
No, but what year?
1841.
1841.
So in 1841, some guy's like, hey, there's something called dinosaurs. They used to be around.
So you're saying that
and then
George Washington would have never known that
George Washington did not know. So before that, we think that
he
people
happened to find the first dinosaur fossil.
It's widely accepted that before this guy came out with the word dinosaurs, that people just called them dragons. Like they refer to them as dragons. And the word dinosaurs is a Greek word. It's two Greek words put together, basically. So we got what? Dino, which means terrible, and then saurus, which means lizard. So it basically means a terrible lizard.
Yeah, they were reptiles.
Terror lizard.
They were.
So you got
serpents.
lizards.
I'm just kidding.
So you got reptiles that are, but these ones were called terrible. So the fact is that they were just very bad serpents, very bad reptiles. The concept there's a lot that goes with this. So the concept that dinosaurs were stupid. The concept that dinosaurs were just idiotic reptiles that were giant, roaming the earth and stuff like that was, I think, it's a complete conspiracy.
What do you mean?
That they were able to brainwash all of us into believing.
Okay, what would brainwash into what? What do you mean, stupid lizards? I mean,
okay, what happened?
I'm under the conception that these quote unquote dragons or whatever were part of were maybe part of the fallen.
Okay, so you're saying that dinosaurs were the fallen angels?
Well,
Josh
it's referred
the impression.
Satan, the devil.
Conception.
Satan, the devil, is referred to as a dragon, and if that's all they were able to even imagine them as,
in the Book of Revelation.
Yeah, but if that's all they were able to imagine them as, that's all they were able to say. So it's
he also was a serpent in the garden, like a reptile.
Yeah, a serpent, but he wasn't like a serpent like how we think of. He had arms and he had legs.
Not after
because God cursed him, but probably before. So that's why I'm saying that it wasn't necessary, because there's two different fallings from heaven. You got Satan and his group, and then you have the Watchers, right? What we were just talking about. We have the Book of Enoch.
Well, I mean, the Bible talks about the sons of God, and again, if you take that theory, then you have that basis there. But again, the Book of Enoch, according to the Bible,
have that basis there.
The only fall we have is of Lucifer and his fallen, both in the Book of Isaiah and in the Book of Revelation, which it talks about the fall.
But it says it does mention somewhere else. It does mention that basically they do keep falling, and even to this day,
well, there's also
they are still falling.
there's giants even after the flood period. So before, like, if you go to the rest of the New Testament, even Numbers, Deuteronomy, and then First Samuel, Second Samuel, like when you talk about the story of David and who he encountered with like Goliath, and you have another very interesting figure known as King Og of Bashan, who Moses runs into. Deuteronomy chapter 3 talks about it. Numbers talks about it. He says that he slept on a bed that was 13 foot tall and 6 foot wide. He was definitely like a Nephilim giant.
He was a big guy,
trying to spread his seed throughout.
Do
the
you
rest
think
of the world.
do you think that the angels were able to do DNA manipulations?
I mean, we do that today. And why
Okay,
would
so
it be
if they were able
different
to
then?
do DNA manipulations,
like today,
with
they do animal-human hybrid like experiments in
us
China.
as people,
They do
but imagine the
clones.
angels. So
They
with that
do-
concept, do you think that when they were having their children with the daughters, that they were able basically to choose what type of child they're going to have? So it's kind of like a video game where like I want my blah blah blah
It's-
to have
it's
to
an
be a
interesting-
giant or
you can
fast
see-
or strong.
You can see how much conspiracy and conversation could come from a simple, like just a verse that says all flesh was corrupted. So many people derive this.
But there's a cause and
Sons
effect.
Of God lay with
That's
the
what this
daughters of
is.
men.
It's cause and effect. We have the
there's-
effect, and we have it written down what the effect was, what the outcome was, but what caused it. That's the thing. Because you can't take nothing and make something. That's
What
not
are
how
you
it
talking-
works.
Caused what? What are you talking about? You talking about the giants?
Well, yeah. Giants, men of renown, stuff like
We
that.
don't know what
Stuff that's in the
special
Bible.
abilities they had, or if they specially bred them for special speed or strength or whatever. All we know is what the Bible tells us, and we're going to kind of brain it back now. Go back. So we have the world completely corrupt. And we're
Gosh,
trying
if
to
I
move
was there, I
forward.
would smack you in the head.
Why?
I mean, look. Let me just throw something out there. I think that they were genetically modifying stuff because we genetically modify stuff today.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Angels, being that, they probably knew things that the humans didn't know. They did things that the humans didn't know, and it was evil. And I think that the angels were aware that humanity, or the fallen angels, not the angels, but the fallen angels, I think they were aware, and Satan was aware that humanity ultimately will be saved again to have that redemption. I think that they kind of foresaw in a way, like they kind of like felt like, okay, well, God's not just going to let this. They wanted to make everything wicked, so God just destroys it. So it would be kind of a win for Lucifer. And I think that Noah, being that righteous man, it kind of threw a monkey wrench in their plan, right? Like, they were intentionally just corrupting. Like, I get you were alluding to the bloodline. They're intentionally corrupting the bloodline and stuff like that. And Noah was like that monkey wrench and everything. I think this ancient world is crazy. Like, you guys have said a lot of things tonight, but
Do you think Atlantis was part of the pre-Diluvian world?
maybe, there's proof that there's like
There's so many
writings about Atlantis. I believe that maybe there was technology back then too that was way more advanced than we would ever know.
Yeah.
I think that the flood was a reset in a way, like it kind of brought us back down.
It was a cataclysm. It was for sure a cataclysm.
Yeah. So I believe that, that time period, things got really, really out of hand, and it was an intent to it. Like, it wasn't like the devil
just
and
kinda
the fallen
happened.
angels were just doing it happenstance.
So you're saying it was,
They were- I
an
think-
intentional plan of the devil to corrupt the world?
I think they were intentionally trying to just basically, they were jealous of the creation of man.
That's the
I
key
like
word,
that you say
jealous.
that because look at this. If you look at the story of Cain and Abel that we shared, when God confronts Cain and lets him know about his anger, he says that the sin was waiting at the door, like almost like intentionally, like waiting for you to slip with a purpose of like trying to get you. So that's actually not too far out to believe it that way.
And that's why I think all of this
Sin
just,
and the devil.
just like the birth of Christ, and we all know the story of the birth of
Two
Christ and how it was like there was like the margins for error were so small, even with the birth of Christ. I mean, the firstborn of every child was being killed, right? Or it was like all the children were being killed, and they happened to be in a manger. They weren't in a place.
It would have been some time
after, but still,
less than 2 years. That's why everybody 2 years older.
They were in, but I mean, just there's so many margins, like small margins of error. It was the same thing with Noah, right? In the Noah story, there's very, very small room for error. Noah was the only man righteous on the whole earth.
Yeah.
That's crazy because there was a lot of people.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
There's probably a lot of good people.
But
nobody was
they were
righteous
all
in them.
wicked at one point.
There wasn't. That's the thing. It says every intent of their heart was towards evil. There wasn't a lot of good. There was no good people.
No, I'm saying like good, like to our standard, to people's standard. Like there was probably people like, oh, I have a loaf of bread and saw a kid. Here, you can have part of my loaf of bread.
According to the Bible, probably not.
Okay, well,
According to the Bible, it'd be like, oh, look at that little kid, and then stab him.
Like, hey, I have a loaf of bread. Come over here. And then when you come to get the loaf of bread, he kills you and takes everything you have.
Oh my gosh, that's how they were. Oh my Lord,
Dude, it wasn't good.
But Noah
I don't know about that,
and it
but-
wasn't that Noah was perfect. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
That's a very important
It
distinction.
was grace, not perfection,
Yep.
not like whatever. It's Noah wasn't intentionally trying to.
that's sad.
You
What
know.
happened to the rest of the line of Seth?
I mean, yeah, he had other sons. Like there was you see the direct line of the children and children, but there was
Yes.
other sons and daughters. It wasn't like, and they had other sons and daughters. It was, but the line that we followed was the one that led to just Noah and his family, like his 3 sons and their wives, and Noah's wife were the only ones that were kept alive, other than the animals on the flood. And I mean, before I continue on, do you guys have anything else to add about what the world before the flood could have been like, or anything added? I mean, we could be in there all
scary.
day, and we could go down all the rabbit holes. I mean, we touched upon,
It was
angels,
good, but we
touched upon dinosaurs.
there was a lot of evil, but then again, no. Okay, well, we're about to get into Noah building his boat.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I know we threw a lot out there, but at least suffice it to say, there could be so many societies that we don't even know about, even after that. The world's attention, or like remember, or their what is that? What is the word?
Memory?
Memory is so short.
Man,
Is so short-sighted. And like, there's a famous saying about the Rome, the ones that created aqueducts and the road. Like, by the time it was like their great grandkids after like the fall, like they forgot how they did it. You know what I mean? Like there was literally the record. Like they were like, "How? Dude, this was crazy." How
Yeah, it would only be probably like 100 years later, and they would look at these fallen structures.
We are one solar flare away from all of our Wi-Fi and everything getting wiped
Literally.
out and going back to like.
but if you really want to think about it, I don't know what my great grandfather did.
Dude, I don't even know
You're
my
right.
great grandfather's
I don't know anything
name.
about my great grandfather.
I barely even know what my grandfather did. All I know, he was like a bus driver or something.
I know my grandfather. I know my grandfather.
That's all I know.
like,
I barely know anything about him.
and
Yeah,
that,
dude.
That's the thing. That's the thing about that thing.
Yeah, so imagine how much could have happened with
Oh
the
my
giant cataclysmic
gosh.
event.
But theoretically, if Wi-Fi and the internet stays for a long time, and we are on the internet, our physical bodies die, but you stay around. You get what I'm saying? Like basically,
Yes.
like
This is gonna
uploading
live
yourself,
forever.
uploading yourself into like the meta world or whatever,
Remember
into the
this.
uplink
Everything
or
we
upload.
say on here will be remembered forever.
Josh.
Well, that's so one of the. There's a lot of like, okay, so the concept of magic. They also say that back in the day, that writing anything down was theoretically like magic, because you
says
now
that?
have something
Where?
that lives forever.
You can't just say they said
Yes.
back in the day. What? Who
Prove
said
me
that
wrong,
writing was-
because that's not. I'm not wrong.
Prove yourself right.
I know. For
With
real.
You
dry.
once you started writing things down, those people were great people. The guys that were first writing things down,
Yeah.
because they were creating a forever history. Anything that, even if it was wrong, anything that was written down would last forever.
Well, some people believe that Methuselah.
Bro, we have the
Noah's-
Bible.
Noah's-
This thing, the reason why
Noah's
we believe
grandfather?
what we believe is because the Bible, which lasted forever, and this is all we have to go on.
But when Moses was putting the pen to paper or what the tablet or parchment, whatever, it wasn't.
God told him to write it down.
magic.
No, but God told him to write it down. People didn't. Not a lot of civilizations back then wrote things down.
Some people believe that Methuselah was the first ancient historian that would have actually wrote down some of the accounts of how the earth was created and these things that we know that would pass along, and actually gave those to Noah to put on the ark, and they kind of took it with them into the new world.
Well,
remember.
he obviously didn't succeed in his magic trick because he
It's not
didn't
a
preserve
magic
it.
Trick. There's nothing. There's no writing.
It is a magic trick.
Magic.
That was one of the things back in the day. Look it up because I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong.
Okay, all right. Writing
So
is
you're
magic.
saying writing was considered magic back then?
Yes.
Because it lasted.
Yes.
And anything that lasted was considered magical.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm just playing. I'm not.
I don't mean okay.
You have to give me an
I get
example.
what you're saying, but there's like cave drawings and stuff. Is that considered magical?
Can you read those cave drawings for
I
me?
can see that
you
it's
can
talking
see
about
what
a
it's
buffalo.
saying.
and
That's
people
true.
Running after it with sticks.
I'm not. I agree. Those things are theoretically like they're mystical because
When
they
talk about
last
things,
forever.
They're talking about more like, and there is and witchcraft and mystical healing and medicinal stuff like that, cutting of roots. That's going to pull up not just it sounds fanciful, but that will be in the story of the Bible later. Like it is
Yeah.
a very real thing, and
Yes.
there are dark forces and dark
There
powers.
are witches in the Bible.
There is demonic entities that give power of like foresight and things like that to people, and all that is like in the Bible. So
So we
Yeah.
go on. Right?
I'm not saying back in that time. You're probably like there were different things that they did that were considered mystical and magical, and even like writing and ancient schools and thoughts. I know what you're trying to say. Like even in ancient Egyptian mythology, like the passing down of knowledge or secret knowledges and writings,
Yes.
were in the same school in line with magical practices and lessons. But the world was wicked, but Noah found grace. Nathan, will you continue on? Let's get on to Noah and the ark. So we have a world that's completely corrupted.
Feel free to look into that later. Feel free to look into that
Yeah,
later.
we'll touch back on that. Maybe next episode if I.
It's
I'll come
not
back to
necessary. It's not necessary. Let me just touch on it a little bit right now.
Or
It's
if
not
somebody out there
necessarily-
knows what he's talking about, email us.
it's not necessarily the actual of
Don't
like
email
because
us
anybody
any
could write
spells.
anybody could write anything down, but it's how you write it and how you do it. That was the magical part because even on the
All
news,
this is like you're talking about grimoires and like magical books.
I'm talking about
Okay.
complete deception and stuff like that. But okay,
All right.
I
Now,
don't want to talk about this.
yeah, I'm done. I'm done
We'll
talking.
get back to the Bible.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, the ark prepared. And God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. And behold, I myself am bringing flood waters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh, in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you and keep them alive. And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him, so he did.
And that's the beginning of the story of Noah and the ark. God, sorry in his heart that he had made man, sees the wickedness and corruption in all sorts of forms and fashions. Every intent was towards evil, but he saw Noah, he had grace, and he has this plan to save them. And what does he do?
Gives him a project.
He gives him a project. A project, might I say, that is going to take him quite a bit of time.
At least 45 minutes.
Very specific instructions. God comes to Noah and gives him how to build this structure. Now,
How long did it take him? 100 years?
They say that it could have taken him about 120 years.
120 years.
Yeah, it could be, because it could be from the point of when you read the verse back, it says, "My spirit will not dwell with man, and their time will only be 120 years." Some people take that to mean that from that point onward was the time it took for the flood to come and for God to wipe away clean and to save Noah, essentially. Now, it's important to note that the ark that he gives him to build, he's not just going to save Noah and his family. We know he's saving the animals, and we're going to see exactly specific. 2 and 2, they go into the ark, but it will also be 2 pairs of unclean animals and 7 pairs of clean animals. And we have to also look at the fact that this boat was not meant to be a sailing vessel or something that transports things from one place to another. It was merely meant to float. Now, who's ready to get into specifics of dimensions and like the difference of what a cubit used to be to what a foot is today, and how much that's debated? Y'all excited?
Enthusiastic. I'm enthusiastic.
I'm so glad that you guys are. As we mentioned earlier,
Cubit.
we're going from angels, giants, and dinosaurs.
Now we're
into,
talking about the metric system.
we have Josh briefly touched on it earlier. A cubic biblical was pretty much equivalent, and it could be debated, some bigger, but it would be at least this amount of 18 inches. It was roughly translated from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, but obviously some people are bigger and longer than others, so it's kind of a difficult measurement to keep as like one full swoop. But in today's measurements, it's widely agreed that it would have been roughly 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and about 45 feet high. So that's roughly the size of one full football field and another half a football field long, about 3 stories tall. So that's pretty darn big.
And that's, it wasn't the cubit like from the tip of this to your elbow.
We just said, yeah, the tip of your middle finger to the elbow length.
But the tip of your middle finger to your elbow is very different from the tip of my middle finger
Let's
to
see
my
here.
elbow.
Yeah, there's a whole straight up 3 inches longer.
Because, you're freakishly tall.
Yeah, I'm pretty big.
And I am a normal human size.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when we're reading it, it talks about it's cubits. So it says 300 cubits. A cubit is basically...
oh my God! Can we not say it's from the elbow to the tip of the finger?
From the
I've said
elbow
it
to
so
the
many
tip of the
times.
middle finger, because that's what it was. That's how they used to measure. They didn't have
I get
measuring
it, but-
tapes or
but
anything. They
different
would
people are
use
different sizes.
they would use
too.
their arm length. But that's why it was always so such a discrepancy, because it could have been a small man or it could have been a big man. So it had to be anywhere between 12 to 22 inches long or something like that. Or if they were big giants, if they were big, then it could have been even larger. So imagine, what if...
Wait a minute. Are you saying that giants
What
have
if-
longer arms than us?
Yes. So if Noah was actually larger than an average human, so what if he was bigger? So let's just say 10, maybe 13 feet tall. So cubits could be a lot larger. So for us, it's anywhere between 18 to 22 inches.
But it would
for
be-
Noah, it could have been maybe a foot or 2 feet long for his arm. And that
Foot is
300 cubits could be basically 600 feet.
True. We know it will be at least 18 inches long, so that's where I get my conservative measurements from. There is actually like a replica of the ark built in, where is it, Kentucky?
Unless it was children.
We
if
never
children
look it
built
up,
the
but
ark.
it's somewhere.
It's somewhere, and they did an exact replica.
If Noah
from the
used
minimum.
children to build the ark, then the cubits would be a lot smaller.
Exactly. But one thing is interesting to note, Hebrews 11 talks about, we've mentioned this before for others in the book, but by faith Noah being divinely warned of things not yet seen, moved with godly fear, prepared the ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness, which is according to faith. Noah getting this instruction from God pretty much proved why he was found grace in God's eye. Like, it kind of, God knew that he was somebody that he could rely on, that if he told him something that has never happened before, there's no way of showing it hasn't rained yet, he moved in faith and trust in God and began this probably what was a crazy task, because some people kind of theorize that in the time up until the time of Noah, the world had not experienced rain yet, due to some verses talking about how in those days that a mist would come up from the ground and water all the earth, that it's very likely, and also how we see later with the flood coming down, the way the waters came down, that there had never even been rain, and he would have not known what that would have been like. But he trusted in God's word and his warning, and took it by faith, and God gave him specific instructions, pitch inside and outside, and how you shall make it, and gave him the dimensions, and gave him time, and just, it's really awesome to see that in this world, like Nathan was saying, where there was an intentional evil force, an adversary pushing, and everybody was kind of living selfishly, somebody else, knowing that God was real, was faithful to that God. And that's why God used him and his family to preserve humanity and to continue on. We all come from that line, Noah. You know what I mean? Technically, if that's our ancestor. Everybody that came after that would have come from that line, and it's awesome to see that.
And he built it out of gopher wood.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Nobody
wood.
knows what that is.
Gotta go for the wood.
Some people believe, other translations say it was cypress wood. But
what if they called it gopher wood because gophers would bring him the wood?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Oh my gosh!
Aren't gophers like super tiny?
Yeah, but back
A lot
then
of
they could have
gophers
been
would put it
huge.
on their back and,
Back then they could have been big gophers
Or
and bring him
maybe
entire
people were
logs.
Tiny.
But people also lived really long, so maybe the world was encapsulated under a big cloud or vapor of water, and it would have created this more clean atmosphere where everything lived at a much vibrant life, and it would have been bigger gophers, longer lifespans for humans, and that's why
gophers weren't bringing him the wood. Dude. Can we stop?
But
Come on.
listen,
I'm trying to justify the weird.
maybe instead of him going to cut it down, he used wood that gophers already built their dam with.
Okay,
Stop
no
with
more-
that.
It's just easier. It would be easier because he doesn't have to cut it down.
You're confusing gophers with beavers. One, I know you are. You're like
am.
really big. Like gophers
Oh my
have like
gosh.
nothing to do with chopping down trees.
Oh my gosh. No, you're right. But I mean, what I wanted to say is that Noah built the ark.
Yeah, Noah built the ark. No, here's the thing about Noah. What made him a righteous man? God gave him a task. The task took 100 years. All he had to, he was telling people, "Hey, it's gonna rain," and people were like, "What's rain?
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die of a flood."
If we
They're
don't
like,
do
"But
this."
the water's over there. It doesn't move from there."
Noah, you're such a goofball.
Yeah. Nothing could kill us. I'm a giant. Even
So,
if the
according
water,
to
I can
Google-
wade in the lake.
According to Google, what type of wood was gopher wood? It's called teak. Teak is thought to best represent gopher.
Yeah, I looked
term
this up
used in the
last time.
Bible.
It's
wood.
not really conclusive.
No, I
There's a lot
know.
of different examples.
Either way it goes,
22, thus Noah did according to all that God commanded him.
So did he
thing
do it by
is-
himself? Did he build it by himself?
I'm sure his sons helped him out. I mean, 100
Well, yeah.
years
So his
is long
sons.
enough to get
There's
old
another
enough to
concept that the Watchers probably
help.
might
It's
have
not
helped
true
him.
at all. No.
I know. I mean, the movie Noah with Russell Crowe.
We're not
definitely has
referencing
it.
the movie
I-
Noah with Russell Crowe. With
First
the
off,
rock
Russell Crowe
monsters.
is my favorite actor.
I understand, but that movie was it was comically like rock monsters helped Noah build the flood and fought off people, and then
Well,
they
when
redeemed
God,
themselves.
there was
No,
listen, there was something to that. There's a reason why they did that is because when the
not.
Watchers came to Earth,
It was literally
God,
it was like more fantastical.
God put
that was
them-
their reamed back.
God cursed them to be part of the Earth. So that's why people think that they're in the Euphrates and stuff like that. They're
No, they
inside
were-
the Earth,
they were-
but
they
the concept of them being rock monsters in that movie is because God basically put the Earth on them, so they were rocks. But maybe the fact that they used that in the movie is because they were probably trying to find grace in God's eyes by helping. Because before they came, they caused destruction, but now in the book of Enoch. So in the book of Enoch, the fallen are coming to Enoch and asking Enoch, hey, go to God and ask him to give us grace. Like, we want to go back to heaven. We want to be accepted in God's eyes again. But God basically tells Enoch, no, you know what? They're cursed. So Enoch goes back to them and tells them to curse. But it was an interesting concept because that's what they did in the movie Noah with Russell Crowe. Is
we're still talking about this movie?
Yes,
Noah?
because they went off of the idea that the Watchers were trying to find grace in God's eyes. So to find grace in God's eyes, they were trying to help Noah, aka being the seed that God was trying to preserve. So they were trying to help Noah build this to be able to find grace in his eyes. And in the end of the movie, Noah, God says, "Yeah, you can come back to heaven," and He takes all them. But that's not real.
False.
I know. It's
It's
false.
not even like a little bit. Maybe it could be that the Watchers helped them build it. It's not at all.
Were you like in the room when they wrote the script or something? Like, why do you care? I don't care. I didn't
Josh,
even like that movie.
That movie was so bad as a movie.
No,
too.
it wasn't.
Like,
No, it wasn't bad as a movie.
Noah played
I
like
know.
in the movie. Noah's like, God wants all humanity. It's
better than the Exodus
only purpose
movie.
is to help the animals live, but we're all going to die too.
It's better than the Exodus movie that God was like a child.
Honestly, that was probably better than Noah.
Oh my gosh.
Both movies were pretty bad.
Yeah, especially the biblical
let's get back to this. Let's get back to the story of Noah and how he fit all the animals in the boat.
Nathan, you have a very interesting. I want to hear. I want people to. So
First off, it wasn't a boat; it was an ark.
Last time I was ridiculed for saying this,
All right,
and
we're not
gonna
gonna
angry.
we're not gonna ridicule you. Last time we tried our first draft of this episode.
No, I want to hear it again.
We have.
I wanna hear it again.
I described the dimensions
Josh
of
is
the
gonna
ark for a
ridicule
reason.
me again.
There's a lot of animals. We don't know exactly the number of animals that could have been on the ark. We know that based on the size, you could have probably fit like roughly 120,000 sheep, but we don't know exactly. That's something I googled.
Yeah, I know. I saw that before.
That
too.
it's we don't know like how did
What about the food?
The food,
What about
and-
Where did they poop?
They were all vegetarian, so it didn't really
the
even matter.
animals never went to the bathroom that whole time. Like, what was that?
there was
going
one
on?
window at the top.
They
Yeah,
were all
one
vegetarian.
window.
They were not
Nathan,
carnivores at that time.
What do you think? How do you think all the animals fit? Even in that big ark, granted, we don't have a boat as big to be able to fit every animal and creeping thing and bird.
I mean, it's kind of a weird because, like, this is what I believe. God gave Noah a task to build the ark, but let me ask you this: God, being that He created the heavens and the earth, did He have to have Noah use an ark to save all the animals?
Well, Enoch was taken up into heaven.
See, that's where I'm getting at, and that's where my belief is. It's like God didn't make the ark. Noah didn't like God gave Noah that ark as a test of his faith. Build this ark for me.
As we read in Hebrews.
400 and something years, and he's sitting there and he's building it every day because God wanted to see, is this truly a righteous man in this very corrupt world? At the conclusion of that, all of a sudden, all these animals just appear and they start going into the that's like a miraculous thing, and they all just happen to fit in an ark. And then I look at the ark, like I look at the story, and this I correlate it with the story of when Jesus fed the 5,000 with the fish and the loaves of bread. Mm-hmm. That fish and loaves of bread should definitely not have been enough for those 5,000 people. 5,000 people with just some fish and some loaves of bread fed everybody, and they were full. This ark, I mean, you could say, I mean, you guys were making fun of me saying, was it a multi-dimensional? I just feel like there are no rules of physics when it comes to God. When He's making a miracle, right? When He's doing something, like when the guy got swallowed by the whale, you know.
You talking about
Yeah.
Noah? I mean,
Not
Jonah?
Jonah. When Jonah gets swallowed by, I didn't want to say Jonah because like, is it Jonah? But I know it was Jonah. Yeah, Jonah
Oh, my Lord.
gets swallowed by the whale. And he lived in the whale's belly.
for 3 days. and 3
Obviously, that is not possible. But because God was trying to teach Jonah something, He He made the impossible possible. All these animals fitting in an ark, living there for how many days was it raining? And then how many days were they on the water? And,
hundreds of days.
Yeah, so they were just on an ark, and the animals needed food that whole time, and they needed to go to the bathroom that whole time. And, Noah and his family needed food and shelter and stuff like
And
that.
they were supposed to bring every kind of food to eat.
Yeah, and everybody's different, and they, how are you feeding insects, and like where are you, how are you feeding the grass? Where are you getting all this from? Because I believe that inside that ark, a miracle was happening on a daily basis. It was like imagine if you will, like Noah was just basically going down a hallway that never ended, but when he finished feeding everybody, he turns around, he's like, oh wow, the hallway is shorter than I thought. You know what I'm saying? It was like a miracle was happening inside that shit. That's why all those animals fit there. That's why there was enough food there. That's why these measurements that they described, I'm sure they were there for a reason. And I'm not a theology major, right? But at the same time, that's what I personally believe. I believe that God was making miracles happen daily inside that ark because God promised them, I will, save you from destruction, and I'm going to save these animals from destruction. And he keeps his promises. So that's my personal belief, that ark, there was no, like, time, and, there wasn't, this is going to be even crazier. I kind of believe that even, like, Noah and his family, it might have felt like it was just, a week went by, whenever it actually was maybe hundreds and hundreds of weeks. You know
Absolutely
what I mean?
not.
I'm just saying, like, I think time and space and all that, it didn't matter at that time because God was, protecting Noah. And when God protects you, the laws of physics no longer apply. The laws of nature, the laws of our conceptual way of thinking of things, it doesn't matter anymore.
When Jesus was dying for our sins, God took away his pain. He didn't feel it. No,
What?
no. We have to go through the process.
Whoa! Go back there.
I didn't say anything that you.
No, I was saying no. Listen, why I'm shutting down your amazing theory.
Okay, first of all, let me just before you shut him down, if you want.
Yeah, I didn't say anything close to Jesus. Not.
No, I was just saying. I was saying that in a way. It's like I was sarcastically
Miracles
saying
happen.
that.
Jesus.
I'm saying that it was a miracle in the boat. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And it was a
well, I'm
miraculous
trying to
thing
say
happening.
that's
Yeah, just
cheating, and God's not going to cheat in that sort of way.
What are
God
you talking
is-
about? God kept the sun still over the earth for 3 days. He parted the waters for the Israelite. There's plenty of times when God broke the
He
laws
instantly
of physics.
transported the disciples when they were on the Sea of Galilee to the other side.
Like, there's many, many instances when God just defied the law.
No, he
Look at
didn't. He didn't instantly
the Bible
transport
is
them.
filled with the miraculous works of God intervening for his people against the laws of nature. And I could see when they just the act of getting all the animals onto the ark would have been a miracle in its own right. You know what I mean? You're right in a lot of ways. We don't know the semantics of the everyday life of how the animals fit, how they are fed.
As much as I enjoy the theory of a multiverse,
I didn't say multiverse though. That's the thing. Like, you guys are adding words to me.
I didn't.
And you
What
did
are you
before.
guys? I didn't.
Well, last week you did.
so if they're going in there and what like they enter a different, it's like a portal.
No, it's
You're talking
not
about a portal
I don't know what it was. I don't know how God made it work.
or like a time machine. Like,
I'm not speaking for God. I'm just saying it was a miracle. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. It was a miraculous event.
it is a miracle that they even survived.
So how, like, if you're trying to say, you say there was this fish a multiverse? Every time they were tearing off a piece of fish, were they just grabbing one from a different dimension? I mean, it was a miracle. When Jesus turned the water into wine, how did that, that's what I'm saying. These were miracles that God performed miracles in the Old Testament as well. And I think it was just a miracle with how all the animals
No, I
fit
get
on the
it.
ark.
I get it. I just think that when God wants to do something, we as people, we have the free will, and that's
Yeah,
how He does things, and we have to choose to go through it.
Yeah,
Because you were
building of the
right.
ark came from.
You're
That's
right. He could have done like how Enoch did and just grabbed them and taken them up, and then just now the flood's over and bring them back down.
No, but it was what Nathan said is an act to show that Noah did all according to God commanded, that he was faithful and he acted in faith to be able to, show that he was righteous through faith, essentially, because he believed in God. That's why he was counted righteous enough to be the one that was saved. It was like proving exactly God why he chose him to save all of humanity through.
Yeah.
And it had to have been miraculous. That's all Nathan's saying. It had to have been something that is not supernatural, because there's no way to physically conceptualize every animal. Now, you could think that there was fewer species of animals back then. You know, there's fewer strains of plants and all that. But no matter what, it would have been a miracle.
It would have been a ridiculous fit, man. Like, the ark is huge. I'll give it that. It's
I would
big
say that
ark.
he took the basics of each animal's DNA, theoretically.
Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, that instead of taking all these different types of species of birds and stuff like that, that he took this one bird, that from that bird you get a bunch of different types of species when you intermingle them. So he knew that after the flood, when they reproduce, that those animals that came out again would happen.
Josh, they took of every living thing, male and female, that were actual animals, so that they could reproduce with their own kind. And then we see this even later, whenever he's on the waters, and to see if it's receded enough for land, he lets like a raven go, and he lets a dove go, and he lets, they were alive, full-grown animals.
No, but that's another thing. With Joshua is another theory that it took. That's my point is, right? Other people say, well, they were the babies of those animals. There's a lot of
Who knows?
theories.
There's so many different theories.
All
that
I'm
could
saying
go.
is, whatever theory it was still miraculous, and it was still a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that ark was a miracle. It did defy. Up until that point, nobody has seen flood. Nobody would have thought that big old house boat would float. Like, they were like, I'm sure Noah sometimes was like,
This is a heavy
"Hey
thing.
man, yeah, this is gonna float above the water." And then I'm sure one time one of his sons is like, "Well, yeah, like this rock does," and throws it in the lake, and it just sinks. He's like, "Well, no, the boat will, the ark will float in the water."
But they've seen wood
Dude,
float.
this gopher wood sinking to the bottom too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot of faith there, and it was a lot of God just showing he was a mighty God. Whichever theory you believe in, like whichever way you take it, and yeah, I do believe that man had to feel the, endure and test and feel all the whatever. I get what you were trying to say with that weird Jesus thing. But I get what you were where you were going.
Sprinkles it in and leaves.
I get where you were going. That they had to go through it. Like,
They have to go through a process.
They have to go through a process. But they did go through the process, right? The process was
To build
man, all the millions of people are super evil. I'm the only one like saying, yeah, I'll build it, God. Like, I'll listen to. They did go through the process, and they were still going through the process. I'm sure even in the ark. I mean, it's a test of faith. It's like, it hasn't stopped raining yet. We have food, but I mean, it hasn't stopped raining yet. When do we eat these animals? Like, at what point do we start, just munching on some of the... I mean, that's a delicious looking cow we have right there. And they didn't. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm getting at. It was all like God. It was like man taking a step towards God, God taking 10 steps towards man. It was like the very first, one of the first examples of that to me. In a wicked world.
Would you say that that's what you believe is the greater?
No, I'm not. That's not my greater meaning.
Oh my gosh.
That's not my greater meaning.
Because that's kind of where we're gonna pick back up next time. With the actual flood coming down and entering into the ark, we're gonna kind of finish it up today. Noah did according to all that God commanded him, and Noah pleased God by being faithful and having faith into what God spoke to him. He did. That's all God looks for. I mean, that's if I were to take a greater meaning from the first, this chapter 6, talking about the wickedness of man, the judgment of God, talking about ark being prepared, it's that all God's looking for is faithfulness and obedience. And if you're willing to do that, doesn't matter if the entire world is evil, doesn't matter if everything is going against you, even if it's something that doesn't make sense. If you remain faithful to God, God will remain faithful to you in anything that you do and anything that you go through. If you hold on to Him, even if his judgment comes down, Noah found grace. And we talked about what grace means. It's that undeserved gift. It's not just not getting what we deserve, but it's being given something we don't deserve. And that's a beautiful thought to see that even though we, with sin, from the point where Adam and Eve sinned, all man deserved, according to God in his righteousness, was the penalty of that sin, which is death and destruction.
Yeah.
But he's enacting his plan. He's got his people, and we'll see that after this, he continues his plan and to bringing about that Savior through the line of his people, through the seed of Noah, so that we can all not just have to rely on physical salvation from a flood or from an adversary or an enemy, but he'll give us everlasting salvation of eternal life. That's what I believe the greater meaning is. What I see when I look at this first part of the book of or the story of Noah, and with we got into it with the giants and the angels sleeping with women and the book of Enoch and some of this other stuff. But at the end of the day, when I look at the Bible, and I want you guys that are listening to open up the Bible for yourselves and read it for yourselves to find your greater meaning.
Josh?
So, mine. So, in this time, we see that God regretted creating humans. Don't be the human that God regrets.
Ooh.
Do whatever you can to be like Noah and to stand out. Obey when God tells you to do something. Do it because there's a greater picture involved. You don't always know it. You won't always see it. But God knows when there's a flood coming into your life. So do whatever you can to keep looking up, even when there's a bunch of evil and a bunch of temptations in front of you. That's my greater meaning.
I like that. I like the don't be a human that God regrets making.
Hey, we didn't even touch on that really, because the fact that even God regretted making humans, good Lord, that was deep. It
hurt him.
It hurt him. He regretted the whole action. He's like, I'm going to get rid of all of this and then basically restart. He restarted.
Nathan?
Greater meaning to me, and what this passage speaks to me, what we read today. I'm kind of thinking back, and I'm going to kind of relay some of the stuff I even said in the episode that we recorded before. The wickedness of man and the nature of man, how man's nature is, and how my nature is a lot of times, right? If you have fallen and you know that you have sinned, or you've done some wrong in your life, or you've messed up before God, you see in what we read today, these guys, they've messed up and then they double down and they continue to mess up and they just continue to live in sin. And we don't live in a time period where you have to just accept the fact that you're a wicked person anymore. I mean, you don't have to be wicked. Like, for instance, if I'm not eating chocolate anymore and then I accidentally slip up and eat chocolate, by my nature, I'll start eating a lot of chocolate, the whole bag of chocolate. But today, because of Jesus Christ, you don't have to be that person that just lives in sin your whole life. You do have redemption. You do have somebody that's why he died for your sins, is because of the nature of man. Because man can't help themselves but just double down in sin. Because it's never enough for us. So when I read this passage that they were so far from God that God had to essentially wipe out the earth, you're going to see in the next episode that God's going to promise that he's never going to do that again. And then at the time...
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. That he's never going to wipe out the earth again with a flood. You know why? Because the plan for Christ was already in motion. And today, you don't have to live your life and then just lead your life to destruction. You have Christ who's there, who's ready to pick you up. Just stop, think for a second and just allow yourself to be picked up by Christ, to stop living in sin and accept the redemption that God gives you freely. It's given to you freely. And it's given to you, but you have to receive it. It's a very important part of salvation.
Put down the chocolate, pick up the apple.
Yeah, put down that chocolate, pick up not the apple, maybe the banana. But put down the chocolate.
Actually,
pick up the
banana is man-made, so we don't. That's not a good one.
Receive the salvation that Jesus Christ has for you, and that's the greater meaning to me when I read this. Is that I don't have to just keep doubling down in my sin and beating myself up.
Yeah. I mean,
That's deep. That's a good one.
That's right. And I want to, something kind of came to mind when you said that. I'll just add this. I'm not going to divulge in this long, whatever. But whenever you go and you're faithful to God and you do what He asks you, God has that plan to save you. He will miraculously help it come to fruition. Like you do your part, and God will show you His wonders and how He will continue. Like when He calls the children of Israel, tells Moses to come out the promised land. He said, "I will
staff
show
of wonders."
not the staff of wonders, but yeah, He will show him. He will show him how He fights for you. He'll show you how He fights for you. You make that one step, like Nathan said, and that 10 steps He makes you. Even if He has to defy the laws of nature. Even if He has to do something that doesn't make sense, stop the sun in the sky, save you, and put you in a multi-dimensional boat. I'm just playing.
They should. That's a new Marvel movie right there. Noah
Even if he has to
in the Ark.
multiply the breads and the loaves.
I could
even
see
if he has
Doctor Strange being I could already see.
God will do that for you, and that's the type of God that we serve.
Oh my gosh! Is Thanos Noah?
No, what?
dude.
What? How? How did you get Noah from Thanos?
No, it's not.
Thanos had to save the universe.
It's not even like a good, like even off one. Bro, your brain just makes these.
The thing is, after the flood, there's gonna be something called a whole new world,
Nathan, no.
a
new fantastic point of view.
new fantastic point of view.
No one to tell us no, or
one
where to go,
us
or
no.
say we're only dreaming. A whole new world, a dazzling
guys.
place I never knew.
Thanks for listening.
When I'm way up here,
This is
it's
Josh saying
crystal
goodbye.
clear
This is Andrew
that now
saying
I'm in
goodbye.
a whole new world with you. And goodbye, everybody.
If you guys like what you hear and you guys want to support us, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, give us that 5-star review, tell your friends about us. Look out for some social media coming up here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to start posting up and giving you guys some special goodies on there. And again, if you have any questions or if you want, let us know what the greater meaning to you is. When you pick up this story and you read it in the Bible in Genesis chapter 6 or previous episodes, email us. We'd love to hear from you. greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. Josh will throw the notes down below, and so he'll throw the link down in the notes below. But thank you. We're excited to meet with you guys next time when we go through the rest of the story of Noah and the flood. And